Out there to talk about, and yet I am also thrilled to immediately bring on my first guest. His name is Tony Katz. He has been voted the most talented, the best personality in a mid-market morning show for years now by Barrett Media and others. Pops up in the Talkers Heavy 100, does all kinds of things, including hosts Eat, Drink, Smoke, which airs from 6 to 8 o'clock every Sunday night right here on this station. Tony, how you doing, buddy?
It's good to be with you, man. Thanks for having me. Enjoy KSEV. Thrilled to be part of the lineup. And no one knows barbecue better than you.
Better than you. You're incredible. And it's
no, not you. I meant the people.
Right.
I didn't mean you,
no,
Greg. I don't know what you know about barbecue.
I know nothing about barbecue, Tony, but I took it as a compliment and immediately had to reject it for some reason. Let's talk about a bunch of things that are out there in the world. First, and for some reason, Houston's been a big place where people have focused. Our airports have been terrible. How have things been in Indianapolis? Have you guys been talking about that a lot at WIBC?
Yeah, so I'm based in Indy, and we have one of the best airports in the country, but you can't compare size-wise what Indianapolis deals with to the hubs that you have in Houston. Your issues are much greater. The lines are much longer. And an issue there has reverberations around the country, especially for us in the Midwest. The argument is whether or not the progressive left is serious about the idea that the American people should be allowed to fly. That is the argument. President Trump just today, with the executive order to pay TSA agents, this is going to get all sorts of challenges. But when we see the total unwillingness to pay TSA agents, even if you don't like the TSA, this is about something far greater than standing on principle. This is about Trump hate. But what we're seeing in Indianapolis is very slight and very minor compared to what you guys are dealing with in Houston, compared to what they're dealing with in Atlanta and in those major hubs.
Yeah, no, I know, but we're seeing it everywhere, and I love the way you just put it. Essentially, Democrats are asking us if we have the freedom to fly or not, and if the American people will get mad as they try to strip that of us. Have you guys had an ICE presence at all? One of the other things that I found very amusing. Okay. One of the other things I found very amusing about here in Houston, there has been an ICE presence. ICE officers have showed up. They gave out water and I think helped speed up lines, and people have been celebrating them. It's just sort of amazing to see. I think a couple things went viral on social media of people thanking ICE agents at our airport, and I love how little that's talked about on left-leaning or mainstream media because of how mad they probably are that exists right now, that ICE agents are getting a chance to interact with people and show that they're humans and not horrible, terrible monsters.
Yeah, well, when the narrative is all you have, you better present the narrative. So they'll show some random woman screaming, ICE, get out, at ICE agents in airports. They'll share the story out of San Francisco with ICE there arresting a woman who was ordered deported in 2019, came to the country illegally. In San Francisco, they don't even utilize TSA. They're private. There are like 20-some-odd airports across the country that have private as opposed to TSA, and I support the idea of private. Indianapolis was not designated one of the airports to need ICE assistance, so we did not get it. And it makes sense. I mean, it is an international airport. It is an incredible place to be able to move through, but just didn't require that. I think that greater argument you're making, Craig, which is the idea of, the political left doesn't believe they have the right to fly. What the political left truly believes is that the hatred for Trump overrides all things and that somehow the American people will go with them. And so when we take a look at how this played out with the DHS funding and no matter what the Republicans offered, they said no. And then Republicans didn't really take enough advantage of this as a talking point, as a narrative buster, as a way to move people, move voters, because Republicans very often miss the mark when the opportunity comes to make sense to America. They're not really good messengers. So the left starts putting this idea out of, we'll just fund the TSA. I was convinced they were going to win with that, and they were going to beat the Republicans at this game and come out victorious. And lo and behold, they haven't. And now you see the move from President Trump, this executive order to pay the TSA agents instead of waiting for the Democrats to come to their senses. And you start to wonder whether or not we've reached a point where Americans, regardless of politics, just look at the situation and say, yeah, those Democrats are being silly. Those Democrats really do hate us. They hate Trump more than they love us. They hate Trump more than they respect us.
Yeah.
They hate Trump more than they want to do the work for us. And if that is the case, and I'm not 100% sure yet, maybe it's a little bit of hope, maybe it's a little bit of naivete. If that's the case, then the midterms are a whole new ballgame. Because with the war in Iran, you could say, okay, gas prices up, this happening, that happening. It's outrageously difficult for Republicans.
Sure.
If this is actually falling on the Democrats when they never expect anything to fall on them, that's a very interesting turn.
Yeah, no, I heavily agree with you that the midterm races seem to be potentially being decided now with some of the decisions that are being made on both sides of the political aisle. You mentioned Iran. I think you talked about this on Tony Katz Today, your nationally syndicated radio show that you also do. There is no deal yet. The president has put out a tremendous amount of information, both on Truth Social and then even in some interviews, saying that they're getting closer to the deal, that Iran is desperate for the deal. Iran keeps publicly rejecting that, but privately, who knows what's going on. Do you think that this is something that does need to come to an end quickly, or and I loved when you used to talk about what was going on in some other conflicts around the world, a way that actually makes sense. Just ending something that has been started now isn't as good as ending it in a way that makes sense. I hope you know what I mean by that, but what is your take on that, on how this end game goes over the next few weeks, few months, whatever it might be?
Yeah. I think that we really, to paraphrase, of all people, Bill Clinton, I think it depends on what your definition of is.
Yeah.
When we talk about end, if President Trump is saying that, hey, we stopped them from engaging a nuclear threat, we did our job, we're gone. He can say that. I don't think that's enough. If he can say, hey, the Strait of Hormuz is back open, you've got the British Royal Navy doing their job, and finally NATO, who he lambasted in the cabinet meeting, if you missed that earlier today, just knocked the snot out of him, even though the head of NATO, Mark Rutte, is all about supporting President Trump, and NATO starts doing a little bit more. He could say, okay, that's done. That's what the end game was. Then there's people like myself who says, if we are going to end the threat of the regime, you must end the regime completely. You cannot have them sponsoring terrorism. No one connected to the Ayatollah or any Ayatollah hardliners can be in charge. The mullahs, the clerics cannot be in charge. And if we're going to believe that you need to set up the conditions for the people to engage regime change, no. We can be honest with each other. This is the United States and Israel saying regime change.
Yeah.
It is what it is. And I'm telling you that I am not opposed to that. We went in. You could have argued maybe we shouldn't have this, that, and the other. That's what people do. They talk, they sit on the bar stool, they have a bourbon, and they discuss these things. But we did it. And once you're doing it, I believe you must finish that task. Now, that task is not easy. That task involves breaking the IRGC. You're going to have to break the money by deciding how you're going to handle something called Karg Island, where 90% of the oil that Iran exports goes through. So ending their hard currency and therefore ending their ability to pay the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, breaking these people and making them scatter. I didn't say it was easy, but I cannot tell you, because I really don't know where Trump is on that, what he considers the end. But I think it's breaking the regime,
sure,
ensuring they never sponsor terrorism again, and we could, for about 5 minutes, stop thinking about the Middle East already.
That would be great. I do love that. I will sort of echo something you said a second ago, and I really do think it's the most important part. You have to have an effective end to the thing you said you were fighting, and they said they were fighting the funding of terrorism. I've heard some conversations about what some would describe, I don't know a better way to say this, as boots on the ground, and others would say is not boots on the ground, because there's no long-form, in-person conflict. But in order to effectively get the thing we just both agreed you need, there might be a military presence of U.S. personnel on land for a short amount of time to get that objective done. Is that something, I think that Trump has often said he's not okay with this, but is that something that you think is a deal breaker if it became a necessity of getting us to this place of ending the funding of terrorism?
I think we can already say that he's made the move. You had the bombing of Karg Island, which is 16 miles, I believe, off the coast of Iran. And then you immediately heard that the USS Tripoli was making its way there. This is an amphibious assault ship. It was deployed out of Japan. It is right now, I believe, just left Diego Garcia, which is the base in the Indian Ocean.
Yeah.
It has 2,500 Marines. We're talking about sending 4,000 Marines. This conversation happened last week. This isn't new. And taking of Karg Island, where they may have some very entrenched forces, the Iranians, isn't necessarily easy. It's not that we aren't capable. We are more than capable of doing so. President Trump has also talked about we're going to go in and get the enriched uranium, which Steve Witkoff, the Middle East envoy, said was definitively at 60%. You need 90% for weapons grade. And to me, that's imminent right there.
Yeah.
So if you're going to go get the enriched uranium, somebody has to walk into Iran and say, hey, the uranium's over here, and go get the uranium. Now, maybe it's the Israelis that do that, but someone has to go do that. In that moment, I would argue your boots on the ground.
Sure.
So the question is, what do we mean? Do we mean in a fighting posture? Do we mean in a defensive posture? Do we mean in an aggressive posture? Are we talking about boots on the ground to actually go kill members of the IRGC and eliminate any mullah or cleric from actually running the country, installing a new leader, that kind of thing? I do not know if America has the appetite for it. However, I would argue that since World War II, I am not so sure that America has actually seen the United States win and take a winning posture and take the position of our philosophy is we win and they lose. That is the part of this with Trump, with Hegseth, with Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, that is so outrageously new, somehow shocking to many American people, that this is the right strategy. We don't worry about people who clutch at their pearls and tear their garments in the press. We go about winning the thing.
Yeah.
I accept wholeheartedly, Craig, I don't mean to go long here.
No, go ahead.
That there are Americans concerned about this. That the forever war conversation for them is not about forever wars, but getting ourselves involved and not winning, not seeing it through, not being successful. Why are we putting ourselves in a place? I understand them. And I think that we have to be clear and honest that they have a point of view. My take goes to the idea of if you're going to do something, do the whole thing. And if you tell me you're sending these troops to Karg Island on the USS Tripoli and other amphibious assault ships, it certainly seems like the move is to be able to take parts of land, take certain assets, take certain places of strategic control, and go about crippling the regime.
Yeah, you know what's so interesting about what you're saying is so many Americans would learn the lesson of the good part in the end of that strategy, meaning once we have the win that we're more than capable of getting, that's when you can fully digest the value in what we did. That doesn't exist in media right now. That doesn't exist in America right now. We debate, and throw crazy things on both sides of the aisle, and no one waits for the ending, usually, to actually have the discussion about good or bad, unless it's a horrible mistake by Biden that ended a war catastrophically and lost us more American lives. But by and large, I think that the problem here, if we actually do continue to push forward the way you're saying, and I fully agree with, is that the conversation can't be complete until Americans sit there and go, wait a minute, how successful were we? And we have other examples of this, what we did in Venezuela. The fact that was a quick snap situation, and we removed a guy who we didn't think was in power, and he's just, in prison now. It's amazing to watch those things happen and then get the end result of the discussion actually at the end of the conflict or the whatever it is that's happening. I don't know what you think about that we're in the infancy of describing this, because really we have to wait for the end to have a true take.
My extrapolation of that is that the people screaming, this is a forever war, don't know what they're screaming about. They're screaming a term that they think has value when it actually has no value.
Yeah.
If 3.5 weeks is a forever war, with all due respect to anybody who thinks that, I don't think you understand what forever means.
Yeah.
If you argue that we went into Afghanistan for 20 years, spent billions of dollars, and we trained an army that fell to the Taliban in 3.5 hours, you're right to be infuriated. And me, I want some generals held accountable, and I want them, even in their retirement, busted down to corporal. I want their pensions gone.
Sure.
What an unbelievable abuse of power against us, the American citizens. But this is about what the strategy is going in. What is the belief? And I am a believer, and I guess you are too. I'm certainly happy to hear that, Craig.
Yeah.
That you end the thing by actually ending it.
Yes.
That you don't give a time certain, because you never give that kind of thing. How dare you give a timeline? How ridiculous. But you go about achieving the goal of not having to go back. Do everything the maximum you can now. I favor this.
All right, I have two more questions for you. They're both sort of macro discussions, one specific to something going on in Texas. But as I said, you do a national show. You cover everything. I'm sure you've at least discussed to some extent the Senate race here and how big of a conversation point it seems it is throughout the rest of the country. James Tallarico, an insane person, is potentially going to run against John Cornyn and or Ken Paxton. I want to ask you about the belief that some politicians are rhinos. Our morning show host here, several other people think that Cornyn's a rhino. I think Cornyn is a rhino, even if he votes with Republicans 70% of the time. He fails on the big issues. And what that conversation actually means to the everyday voter. Because many of us believe that if it is Cornyn against Tallarico, that there's a slight chance that a whole lot of conservatives in a place as conservative as Texas would just sit out the actual election in November because they're so frustrated not being able to change an individual they think doesn't deserve the job in the first place. And a crazy thing like James Tallarico, insane Democrat, could win a Senate seat in a deeply red state. What is your thought on that? The fight against the rhinos and how that actually is achieved on a ground level with the voters here in this state.
I think that you are describing why it is President Trump hasn't made an endorsement yet.
Yes.
I really do. If you had asked me after the primary, I would have gone about it, saying that I think that when you're in the incumbent, you have better opportunity. There certainly is a conversation about the people voting for Paxton being willing to sit it out. Be like, I'm not pulling a lever for Cornyn. I just won't be a part of it. Cornyn voters would vote for Paxton. Paxton voters wouldn't vote for Cornyn. We had this conversation when it was the mythological Trump versus Ron DeSantis conversation before the primaries got started and Ron DeSantis' team decided not to run a race. But when the polling came out that showed that if Trump endorses Paxton wins by 94 billion points. And if Trump endorses Cornyn, Paxton still wins.
Yeah.
I don't believe any one poll, and I'm pretty sure that most of the people listening right now and are part of what you do every day from 6 to 7, right, feel the same way. They absolutely, positively don't believe just one poll. But that one, that one I'll believe.
Yeah, that's convincing.
That one I'll believe, and I'm willing to bet you any amount of money you want to bet. I will tell me where the best brisket is in Houston. I will take you there. That Trump was getting ready to endorse John Cornyn, saw that, and went quiet. Like a submarine in open waters, went quiet, and said, I'm just going to see how things play out right now.
Yeah.
Because that polling told Texans a lot.
Yeah, I would say the pit room, by the way, in the museum district, if you want to take me there, which sounds great. But I agree with you. I don't know if I want to take a bet any other way because I think that's exactly what happened, that Trump was getting close to endorsing Cornyn and saw just how vitriolic the response was. We hear it every day from our listeners who call in and tell us how much they hate John Cornyn because he's failed time after time on the issues that are of the most importance to conservatives, to Republican voters. And I think anyone who fails there, like gun rights types of issues, becomes a person that you can't trust at all and someone you want to see move on. The other macro topic I want to ask you about was CPAC. I know you've broadcast from it a bunch of times. It's in Dallas this year. I don't know how closely you're following it, but any thoughts on what people are going to be seeing, the value of anyone, especially someone here in Houston, that might be making their way out to CPAC?
I had gotten my credentials. I have broadcast from CPAC for well over a decade. When it's in D.C. or when it was in Orlando during the COVID days, I didn't make out for it. Didn't make it out there this time for CPAC. I think that there are some good people who are there. Kurt Schlichter, a longtime friend. People like Carl Higbee from Newsmax, and I appear on his show regularly. Rob Finnerty, who's excellent from Newsmax, is there as well. There are some good names, and then it's Steve Bannon. And I said, no. You want to rehabilitate Jeffrey Epstein and you want me to show up and talk to me about conservatism? I'm not getting lectured to. That's just not happening.
Yeah.
So I think that for CPAC and whether or not it's going to be influential, I'm right now in a doubting camp because what Charlie Kirk had created with Turning Point and what they were doing with their winter event, that took all the oxygen out of the room, and that's where a lot of the make impact things amongst conservatives started to happen.
Yeah.
Does CPAC have a chance to rebuild itself? Maybe. But I think that its impact is, well, I hope everyone has a good time, and I certainly hope that it gets people excited and ready to vote and go out there and talk to people. I don't think it is going to be as impactful as you want, because I think there are some real divisions going on, and I don't think I'm the only one who decided, you know what, I'm okay with skipping this year.
President Trump is skipping it this year. I'm sure you know that, but you seem to be in pretty good company, Tony, with people. And I fully agree with you, by the way, that whether it was because of the passing, the killing, the murder of Charlie Kirk, or just in general, that was the way Turning Point USA was going to become probably the biggest player in the world of conservative politics. Yes, that event seemed far more important. All the big names were there compared to this. It does seem as though the wrong approach is being taken with the voices being highlighted. And you mentioned it, so before I take a break and let you go, I kind of want to ask you this, and I didn't prep you on any of these topics, so I apologize if you don't want to go here. The MAGA Civil War infighting. How have you been discussing that on your show, if you've been discussing it at all? The Megyn Kellys and the Mark Levins and everyone going after each other. I've been talking about it a lot here, and I'm entertained by it, but also at times concerned by it. What do you think?
I don't think it's infighting. I think that there's a group of influencers, Megyn Kelly amongst them, who are saying to themselves, how in the world do I stay relevant? And I'm willing to give up the ship that I question whether or not she actually ever believed in, of conservatism, in order to reach an audience. What I'm concerned about is 20 to 29-year-olds, specifically 20 to 29-year-old men, who are buying into what Candace, what Megyn, what Tucker are engaging. Not that we might disagree about subjects, but what they're engaging in is wholly not a conservative thought. It is about the idea of spreading a whole bunch of nonsense, the idea Trump is weak, the idea that we're being led by the nose by Israel. I didn't ask if you liked Israel. I don't care if you like Israel. Led by the nose is Nick Fuentes kind of talk. It isn't conservative talk, and we should push it to the side. Conversations about any nation are worthwhile. I have them about the UK all the time, giving in to mass migration. You will see Prince William and King William be the last king of England if things keep up like this. No one ever accuses me of any kind of bigotry from it. You can talk about Israel and their policies all you want. Led by the nose is a totally different thing. It is something that should be eschewed and pushed to the side, and so should these people. Megyn Kelly and wrapping herself in the MAGA flag is hilarious, if only because it's so clearly not what she was her entire career.
Yeah.
So no, to dismiss these people is more than sensible, and to think that maybe Levin goes too far in the fight is also okay. But Levin is you don't get to question the conservatism, although you can disagree with the policy. With Tucker, with Candace, with Megyn, they're after audience by any means necessary. That's ugly stuff.
Yeah, I agree with you. At Tony Katz, you can find him on X. You can find him everywhere. He does the two shows at WIBC, the morning show and then Tony Katz Today, which is also nationally syndicated. As I said, Eat, Drink, Smoke from 6 to 8 o'clock every Sunday right here on KSCV KGBC, the voice of Texas. Anything else you want to say before I let you go, man?
I don't know where this barbecue place is, but clearly I need to make a trip to Houston. I've written a book about barbecue. Let's go BBQ. I'm on my way.
Dude,
this has to happen.
Fantastic. All right, thank you so much, Tony Katz. Tony Katz, one more time, can be found at Tony Katz on X and a lot of other places. A really great guy. I've been filling in on his morning show at WIBC for years now. A surprising amount of years when you look and see when something started to where it's going, and kind of cool that he has a show that airs every week here, as I said, from 6 to 8 o'clock. Eat, Drink, Smoke. He is the barbecue master. He is the barbecue and bourbon expert, if I've ever known anybody that is one. All right, quick break. A lot more. This is the Craig Collins Show, KSCV KGBC, the voice of Texas.
This is Kevin O'Hara with O'Hara & Company Real Estate. At O'Hara & Company Real Estate, we believe in God, family, and country. In the past 50 years, people have been trying to remove all three of those from our thinking. Fight for what you believe in and protect your freedoms before they're all taken away. Don't let anyone infringe on your rights. If you need a real estate company, call O'Hara & Company Real Estate, 281-373-3393, or look us up on the web at o'harare.com. I'm Kevin O'Hara. God bless America, and God bless Texas.
Everyone knows the BBB is the Better Business Bureau, but depending on what you need, it's the Better Plumber Bureau, the Better Auto Mechanic Bureau, the Better Accountant Bureau. That's because the BBB connects people with businesses they can trust. So think of the BBB as the better check that business out first so you don't get ripped off bureau. Be smart. Always look for the BBB seal because it's looking out for you. And find a better business anytime at bbb.org.
Matches back here in the Mac Z-Cliner. I'm recovering from surgery thanks in large part to this miracle chair, the Mac Z-Cliner. You can sit in it, you can recline in it, you can watch TV in it, you can eat in it, you can sleep in it. It goes to zero gravity position. The Mac Z-Cliner helped me recover. It also has heat and massage, a place to charge your cell phone. Come out to Gallery Furniture, buy a Mac Z-Cliner before your surgery. Gallery Furniture delivers tonight, or after your surgery, Gallery Furniture delivers tonight, and you'll sit and sleep great tonight.
That's Mike. He took ZQL Pure Z's, so now he's sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. ZQL Pure Z's are fast-acting melatonin gummies with a complementary botanical blend to help Mike get the sleep he needs to wake up refreshed and ready to conquer Monday.
Let's do this Monday.
ZQL Pure Z's, just for sleep. Really great sleep. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
If you have roof problems, you can sure see them when it rains. This is Deb Tejada from Tejas Roofing. If you see a leak, call me immediately, 281-251-0304. I'll send over the Tejas Roof Repair truck.
That truck has everything our experienced crew needs to fix your roof, right then and there.
The Tejas Roofing crew has been working together fixing leaky roofs for 15 years.
It's not a pretty truck, but it has everything we need to get the job done. I kind of like the way it looks.
Most roofing repairs cost less than $500. Why? Because we find the cause of the leak and repair that leak. We won't try to sell you services you don't need.
And we'll fix it right away because everything we need is in our truck.
Don't put off fixing a leaky roof. Call me at Tejas Roofing and I'll send over the truck. 281-251-0304. When you think of roofing repairs or a new roof, think Tejas Roofing, your Houston roofing company. 281-251-0304. That's Tejas Roofing, 281-251-0304.
Mr. President, are you going to go in for the uranium? Like, how do you secure Iran? And
let's assume I was or I wasn't. Why would I ever answer a question?
Can you accomplish
what kind of a question?
What?
Am I going to go in for the? Oh yeah, I'm going in.
You
I'm going
moron.
in tomorrow at 3 o'clock. How could you possibly ask a question like that and expect an answer? I don't know, but I don't know. I think you're a friendly person too. It's just such a ridiculous question.
It's amazing. Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas. That is President Trump answering a question about, are we going to go in for uranium? That is insane. Whether it's yes or no, of course, we would probably say no. We might be lying and saying no, but there's no scenario where we're actually going to say yes out loud and tell you the rest of the plan there. So it's just beyond stupid that these are the kind of things that President Trump gets asked, and he does, by a whole lot of media that wants to find a trap, wants to find a game that they play. And as Tony Katz said, the guest that was on just a little bit ago, for a lot of media, for a lot of left-leaning media, every day they wake up with one mission: find a way to make Trump the enemy, the bad guy, the person we blame for whatever the thing is we need to blame him for, and try to convince the American people that they have to hate him too, and then by proxy hate the rest of us. Anybody who voted for him deserves to be hated as much as they hate Trump, which is insane. And actually, you know what? I have a piece of audio. I was going to play this later, but let's go ahead and do this now. This is a crazy, unhinged liberal woman who kind of dresses like a dude. I don't know much about her, but she said something that went very viral on the internet. She's not a famous person. She's just a terrible person saying awful things. But this feels like a valuable demonstration of the version of rhetoric that is successful on the left and how different it is than what you hear on the right. No one on the right would celebrate trying to kill people on the left. That's not a goal we have. That's not a desire of ours. That's not something that we even find to be funny. If it's joked about with others, here's a crazy liberal woman saying exactly that about wanting to murder Trump and, well, anybody else.
Count your days, presidential party. If I see any one of you and I know who you are, I'm not going to have to say it out loud. I know. If I see any one of you and I have a loaded shotgun, I'm putting it between your eyes. It starts with Trump first, obviously, and then it goes down the line of power.
Everybody, though, I want to put a shotgun in between your eyes. She also seems like someone that's probably never held a shotgun, so I don't know if I'd actually even be that afraid of Alyssa which is her name, and she did that. But that is it right there in a nutshell as to how this game is played and how these sides influence each other. And they want us to hate our own team, too. They do want that. And I think that there is a version of discussion, a version of saying, hey, I think a thing that you don't think, or you think something that I don't think, and not end it with, I have to hate you. Or even more importantly, and this is something I've heard before, the fear that someone is radical. If I'm talking to you in good faith, if I have a genuine belief or genuine desire for conversation, if I'm not attention-seeking, or if I'm not doing something that's completely disingenuous for any other reason, then I think there's a value in discussing it. Actually, it's funny that Tony Katz, when he was on the show a little bit ago, quoted Bill Clinton, because I'll actually quote Jon Stewart, another hard left guy, when he says that the most valuable way to object to something is to bring light to a conversation, not the opposite. So I do still believe that. I still believe that whether it's the Candace Owenses, the Nick Fuenteses, the Megyn Kellys, who are definitely not the same as those other two, or even the Tucker Carlsons of the world, that there's a line between good and bad in discussing any topic, and what the intention behind it is, how far you're going to go down the rabbit hole of pretending you don't have an obvious objection to something that you should have an obvious objection to, et cetera, et cetera. Because playing to the people that just want to believe conspiracy theory no matter what it is, and convincing them that you have the goods on something that you might not have the goods on, is harmful. But being afraid to discuss a topic is so opposite the value system that we have, that I think conservatives in general have, that it would make no sense. And actually, let me do this. This is another version of the same thing that I thought was really interesting. I'm not going to play the audio. The guy's a piece of crap for doing this. I don't even want to name him, but there's a comedian out there, relatively well-known. He's a black guy. His name's Drewski. I'll throw it out there at least once. He recently dressed up as Erica Kirk to make fun of conservatives. So I just want to further describe this thing that you might not be aware happened. A black male comedian put on whiteface, dressed as a woman, and made fun of the widow of Charlie Kirk and what he thought was the extension of the conservative side of the aisle, or conservative women, I think, in his approach to trying to make fun of them. This is disgusting. Clay Travis and many others reacted to it. Clay Travis saying Erica Kirk's husband was assassinated in September. In March, a black comedian is putting on whiteface and mocking her in a video. Honest question, and this is the question I would ask too, if a prominent black leader had been assassinated, even a black thought leader, not saying, I think, to change a little bit of what Clay is saying there, not necessarily a politically relevant person in the sense that they have a job in politics, but certainly someone who's a thought leader within a movement in our society. If they'd been killed and a white comedian put on blackface and mocked that person's widow, is that something that would go well in our society? How would society react is essentially the question. And the fact that I actually have to inform you that a black comedian put on whiteface and pretended to be Erica Kirk and made fun of her and conservative women shows how different it is. If this were something that were to happen in the reverse, it would be everywhere. Everyone that would want you to discuss it, everyone in media, everyone anywhere out there would be condemning this to a degree that people would be losing jobs. Like, all kinds of crazy things would be happening. They're not happening here because of how little mainstream media cares about the extreme takes when it comes to attacking the right. And of course you know that. Of course we all know that. But this is truly the most insane example I could come up with. And it's a real thing. And it's out there right now in the world. You can still go watch it. You can still go see it. It's the kind of thing that should disgust all of us because of how horrible it is. Like how little it accepts the humanity of the other side of the political aisle. And that's, I think, the biggest problem we've had, in my opinion, because there's a big difference. I'll say it this way, and I have one other piece of audio, a totally different topic, and then we got to take another break. There's a big difference between assuming the other side is stupid and assuming the other side is evil. And very, very often, whenever I talk to anyone on the political right, conservative, MAGA, whatever you want to call it, or even just people that are America first, that's probably a better way to describe it. By and large, when you talk about people on the left, you don't hate them. You think they're dumb. you think they're not paying close enough attention. Some aspect of what they're doing is being manipulated by somebody, or they're just not trying very hard at all. That's a very different sentiment than if you ask someone on the left what they think of a Trump voter and they say they want to shoot them with a shotgun between the eyes. It's just insanity. Obviously, you know this, I know this, we all know this, but yet we see it again and again and again as an example. I'm still not naming the company that I'm assuming would just distance themselves from an email I got from a PR firm trying to get a thing promoted that we wound up not being relevant for their promotion on. If you don't know anything about this, there's a video up on my Facebook page, my Twitter page at Radio Craig C. I also live stream on my Twitter every single day for this show, live stream at YouTube and at Rumble for KSEV Radio, as do the Amigos. The Amigos will be on tomorrow night from 4 to 6 o'clock, as they usually are, live streamed on all of our social media platforms. Please check it out. Please subscribe. I think Chris X is talking about getting back involved in doing that through the channels that we've created. So more and more of our content is available. I know Chris Salcedo does his own thing in his own place, and we're working on getting it to also be in some of our places, but hopefully you have more of that stuff. But anyway, you can find a video where I talk about a PR company that reaches out to me, asks me if I'll promote something or at least accept like a free food delivery to the station. And I was like, sure, that's fine. I'm not promising we'll talk about you because that's illegal. It's called payola plugola. But I'm certainly willing to let you drop off food at our radio station. And then they changed their mind because I guess they realized we're the conservative voice of Texas, or a conservative, I don't know what they did. But anyway, the things went back and forth and things got crazy. And eventually they called me the next day and told me that they just logistically couldn't do the thing that their email offered for them to do, which made no sense. So my read on that situation is that the company did not want to be associated with a conservative platform. And actually, one of the emails I got from someone there said that we weren't aligned with their audience, with the audience they were looking for. This is a fast food restaurant that serves what I assume is human food that anyone who's a human being can eat. But I digress. That's the difference. The difference is hating a side versus not hating them. I don't know very many conservative business owners who would not serve food or something to a liberal person. They would serve it. They're like, hey, you want to buy something from me? That's great. I don't agree with your politics. It's fine. I don't care. I'd rather you not yell your politics in the middle of my restaurant if that's your goal, if that's your game. But other than that, who cares? It's just not the same for both sides of the aisle. All right, let's play one last thing. I just like this. This is easily the nerdiest thing I will play today. And it's a whole discussion that happened on Bill Maher's show about light bulbs. And you know what? Actually, I'll take a break. Let me promote this. President Trump, for a while, said that he would protect certain things, like incandescent lights, things that you deserve that for some reason someone else out there is trying to force out of existence. There are some studies that say that there are actually health benefits tied to old types of lighting that are being stripped from our society. And there are negatives that come on with using LED and other sort of light bulbs. I just thought this was hilarious, and I especially thought it was funny to watch someone like Bill Maher, who by and large is still a lefty, even though occasionally says the thing that most people on the left are afraid to say, hear someone describe the studies, the scientific data that demonstrates that Trump was right yet again. It's just sort of amazing. So we'll get to that in a bit. We got some other things to try to get to before we get out of here. 1 hour show, quick every single time. KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas. More of the Craig Collins Show coming up in just a bit.
Plumbing emergencies never happen at a convenient time. Usually they happen on the weekends, holidays, or while you're away on vacation. I'm Richard Sod, president of Nick's Plumbing. When you find yourself facing a plumbing emergency, call the licensed and experienced professionals at Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services. Nick's Plumbing has been Houston's first choice for all your plumbing needs since 1979. Our experts can take your most difficult plumbing issues and fix them fast, fix them right, and usually for less than you'd expect. Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services is the right choice for any plumbing job, from a leaky faucet, whole house repipe, or a complete sewer line replacement. You can count on Nick's Plumbing to do the job right. With over 40 years in business and over 150,000 satisfied customers, Nick's wants to be your plumbing company. Nick's Plumbing offers free estimates and free second opinions. Call Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services, 713-868-9907, or visit us on the web, nicksplumbing.com.
NPL 38548.
Call Nick's Plumbing today. We're on the way.
This is Kevin O'Hara with O'Hara & Company Real Estate. Our country's founding fathers drafted a document that is the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their powers from the consent of the governed. My friends at O'Hara & Company Real Estate, we believe we're at a precipice in time where we must take back our country. We must stand up for our freedoms or lose them forever. Please don't sit idle and let it slip away. Don't let anyone force you to do something you choose not to. As JFK said, if not us, who? If not now, when? If you're looking to buy or sell real estate, give O'Hara & Company Real Estate a call at 281-373-3393, 281-373-3393, or look us up on the web at o'harare.com. I'm Kevin O'Hara. God bless America, and God bless Texas.
Beautiful and healthy trees do increase your property value, but the key word here is healthy. Sick, ugly trees will actually decrease the value of your home. That's why I recommend you call Lewis Flory with Ability Tree Experts at 281-441-4179. They can spot insect and disease problems the average person will never see. They will make sure your trees are properly pruned to allow sunlight and fresh air into the canopy and allow strong winds to blow through instead of damaging your tree. Call Lewis Flory today. That's 281-441-4179. Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professionals.
The leaders.
Senator Ted Cruz.
Thank you, Chris. It's always great to be with you.
Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker.
Hey, thanks for having us on. I appreciate it very much.
The newsmakers.
Folks like Peter Schweitzer.
Hey, Chris, it's great to be on with you.
Ann Coulter.
Great to be here, Chris. Thank you.
And the day's top stories with spot-on analysis.
Their first concern is not for the security and safety of the people of this country. Their first concern is protecting their left-wing behinds.
The Chris Salcedo Show on The Voice of Texas.
This is wild. So the long wavelength light, red light, infrared light, etc., that's the heat from the sun that you feel. It's part of that heat that you said. That long wavelength light is not the light that burns your skin. It's not the wavelength of light.
Okay.
And it was present in incandescent bulbs. So incandescents are, even if you see a white incandescent bulb, it's got short wavelengths, so it's got blue, it's got green, it's got yellows, all the way out to red, and in some cases even infrared. That infrared and red, we'll just call it long wavelengths. Believe it or not, beautiful data on this from Glenn Jeffrey's lab, University College London. It can go into and through your body, and it actually helps, this is a loose term as I'm using it, charge your mitochondria. The mitochondria, there's water in that area.
I know it's already like insane. This is Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, The Voice of Texas. I'm definitely going to keep playing that. That is Bill Maher doing an interview where his guest is talking about the value of the incandescent light bulb. If you are unaware, which I doubt anybody in Texas is unaware of this, President Trump fought a ban on incandescent lights, said you should be able to buy whatever lights you want, and Democrats thought he was a horrible person for it. But let's let this continue, because not only does it start to describe the health benefits of mimicking sunlight through a certain type of light bulb, it also talks about the detriment that is using LED lights in your home because of it doing the opposite thing.
And the water absorbs the red light. If you've ever gone swimming, you've gone down, snorkeling or something below a certain depth, you lose the reds, okay, because the reds get absorbed. So your mitochondria function better, you increase ATP production, your metabolism increases in the presence of red lit, long wavelength light to the skin. This study has been done. Shine long wavelength light on somebody, watch blood glucose levels in a blood glucose test, and it's blunted. Now, the LED lights that are commonly used now,
yes, sir,
or
tell
most
us about
everywhere,
those, please.
They are truncated so that it's all short wavelength and medium wavelength light. And that short wavelength light, in the absence of long wavelength light, has been shown to damage the mitochondria. There's a kind of
I love so much of this, and I know you can't see it. I know it's radio, because Bill Maher is just sitting there. His brain is exploding. And his, face is saying that he's also very upset to hear all these benefits of one type of light bulb that Democrats have banned, and the, lack of benefits or the actual harm done by the other type of light bulb that Democrats have started to push us toward. All of this war on energy stuff. It's funny the different tentacles that it can take on, and I just really like this. There's like another minute of this audio. I'm probably not going to play it. You should find it on your own. It's all over social media. But it is a doctor, Dr. Andrew Huberman, who is telling Bill Maher, as I said, that we need to get more of these incandescent lights back into buildings, or at the very least, you need to sit near a window if you don't have any natural lighting inside your building, inside your workplace, any of that stuff. Then try as best you can to be near sunlight. as much as you can throughout the day. It's just amazing to watch that happen. All right, another silly thing. We're going to call these the quick 4 topics, even though 2 of them, I guess, have a political spin. This is Don Lemon standing outside of a college asking people if they are angry about the war. He was hoping that a lot of young people would tell him the very generic version of, I hate this war, I want to see the U.S. leave it, whether they're on the right or the left. And he had an unexpected human being give him some unexpected answers. And I love the way Don Lemon seems to struggle with, as any Democrat might, hearing stuff you don't like hearing, but being told that it's a first-person account from the individual who's saying stuff that disagrees with you, and you don't know how to fight that, because you would, of course, call this white guy a terrible person unless he is somehow connected to the thing he's talking about, which he just so happens to be fairly close to these issues. Here we go.
How do you feel about the war?
I'm Persian, so I support Donald Trump 100%. The Islamic regime kills women. They killed 50,000 people in 2 days. A lot of them believe death in all of Americans. So I fully 100% support Donald Trump.
So you said you're Persian, but there's no imminent threat to the United States, and most people here.
I love that there's a motorcycle in the background that seems to be revving its engine. I don't know if this is to drown out the guy that's saying he disagrees with Donald Trump.
Right? I'm obviously biased because I'm Persian. And I understand why people wouldn't want war to happen. I understand that fully.
I don't know if you're biased, you just have your opinion. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah. My dad grew up in Iran. He had to flee the country when he was 14. Again, fully support Donald Trump with the bombing of the supreme leader.
But do you understand how Americans feel like this had nothing?
Hey, I don't care. I love that he's going that road. He's like, you who has firsthand knowledge, your father had to escape from Iran. Don't you understand that this is actually wrong? Can't we change your opinion right now? I love when people tell you that they're just trying to get you to think, because oftentimes people who say that are also saying quietly, or the subtext is, you don't agree with me and you're stupid. And you need to try harder to get to the point where you agree with me. I love when I hear that from anybody, especially when it's someone who I disagree with, and they just keep repeating it. They're just like, no. You just got to think more. You got to do a little bit more research. You got to dive a little bit deeper. This is Don Lemon to a T right now, trying to say to this person who has firsthand knowledge, family member who had an experience in the place that we're now fighting and how terrible it is, and being like, but do you understand Americans' position on this, though? And he's getting it wrong, because, of course, a lot of Americans don't think what he's saying. Many do, but many don't, and that doesn't matter. Because when you're so assured of your opinion at all times, everywhere you go, like the arrogant piece of crap that is Don Lemon, you can't handle the objection. I think that's really the way that I see it, or the way that I hear it. I love this type of thing, though, where you hear someone say, just as strongly as they can, that you're not trying hard enough to get to the right answer that I got to. Whether they've done more research than you or not, whether they are trying as hard, none of that matters. Just at the end of that conversation, especially for people like the far left morons that are Don Lemon, that, because you're still disagreeing with me, you can't possibly have tried hard enough. You got to go back to the grindstone, got to do it again, and eventually you'll come back and understand what I'm saying, and then we'll be in a better place. It's amazing. A couple other quick things. Baseball returned last night. The Yankees crushed the Giants. That was very fun for me to watch as a Yankee fan. I know this is Houston. I know there are a lot of Astros fans here. The Astros are playing today, which is a lot of fun. I think that game is just about over. Oh, no, it is over. 0-3, they lost to the Angels, but it's just the first game of the season. There's a lot of baseball left to be played, but I'm just so happy that baseball's back, because I love baseball. And I think Netflix actually did a really good job with the show last night. I don't like that it was on Netflix. I'm not going to like that no matter what you tell me about the benefit of it. Baseball should be on just basic places. I know that we don't live in New York, so I'm really talking about the Astros. Whenever they get blacked out from being here because they're on some sort of national platform, and the more that we're spreading that out, the more platforms that want rights to 6 or 7 baseball games a year, and that's the case for Netflix. Amazon with football did a lot of this. It's just annoying. It's annoying to have to go to all these other places and get versions of subscriptions here and there in order to consume this stuff. I was a Netflix subscriber already, and I did think the quality of the product, the quality of the broadcast was pretty good. So I am giving them that, while also saying that I'm annoyed that I had to go there to watch it. But the Astros, as I said, played today. Lost to the Angels. They're back tomorrow. The Yankees are back tomorrow. Baseball is back, and that is incredible, and I'm very, very happy about it. Also, I like this story for just a quick thing before we get out of here. Firefighters in Southern California pulled off a tiny miracle after rescuing 4 cats from a burning building. 3 of them weren't breathing. Instead of giving up, the crews performed CPR and even mouth-to-mouth on animals. Here's one of the first responders talking about it, bringing people's pets back to life. This was very viral all over the internet. An easy feel-good story, I guess, a little bit weird, but here we go.
When I looked under the bed, I found the first cat, the black one, but as soon as I went to go grab it, it just fell over. So then I knew something was wrong.
We didn't have any oxygen at that time, so I reverted to mouth to snout and started pumping on the cat's chest.
Giving them chest compressions, and I know from holding my cats, their hearts beat pretty fast, so I knew to beat pretty deep and pretty fast.
They treat them like they're kids, so we just couldn't leave them there.
We just treated it kind of like we would treat a pediatric patient that was unresponsive and not breathing. Small, press hard, press fast, and breathe into them.
Yeah, I got to be honest, that's kind of amazing that they brought cats back to life with mouth to mouth and then gave them back to their parents. Gave them back to the people who own them. I don't actually usually call the people who have pets the parents of said pets. I'm not trying to be a jerk. If you do, that's not a thing, but they used it there. I love so many parts of this story. Because now any other firefighter who doesn't do this has some example out there of how somebody's better, which annoys us all the time. Whenever you find your example of, oh, this guy did something I wouldn't do. But it was obviously a feel-good story. The family was happy that they got their pets back, so just kind of a crazy thing. And honestly, the last thing I'll say about this is why cops, firefighters, individuals, first responders deserve so much thanks within our society. Because sometimes they do things that no one else would do, whatever that might be. The guy who responds to a cow in the middle of the road kind of thing. Those types of stories, those types of moments are so surreal, I imagine, even for the first responders who are dealing with them. And yet it's the expectation of what they do. If I have something go wrong, who am I supposed to call? I call the police. I ask them to help me no matter what it is. And again, they respond to all kinds of crazy stuff. And so it's just sort of amazing to watch it play out that way for that situation, to be a situation where you can bring 4 cats, 3 cats back to life, give them back to the people who own them, and be like, there you go. Obviously, you're going to be pretty happy with us. I imagine that they're going to donate to whatever the next firefighter ball is because of how great it is. All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to get out of here. This is the end of the show. The Craig Collins Show is only 1 hour from 6 to 7 o'clock every single day, Monday through Friday, right here on KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas. Tomorrow you have the Amigos from 4 to 6. They will be live streaming just like I live stream on every platform we have. We have a Rumble. We have a YouTube. So check us out there. I'll then be on those platforms as well at 6 o'clock on Friday. And at 6:30, I do Veteran Voices. That's where you hear from a veteran or a veteran organization because veterans deserve to be heard. They deserve to have any story they want to tell out there, and we tell those stories every single day, or every single week, on Friday on KSEV, KJBC, the voice of Texas, and the Craig Collins Show. All right, talk to you guys tomorrow. See you guys later. Thanks for tuning in.
You're listening to the voice of Texas. AM 700 KSEV Tomball and AM 15.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. The International Olympic Committee announced Thursday that it would restrict women's sports to biological females as determined by a genetic test. Correspondent Bernie Bennett has more.
The policy will go into effect for the Los Angeles 2028 Olympic Games onwards. The IOC adopted as a standard a